Vatican City, April 26, 2025. The ancient bells of St. Peter's Basilica tolled somberly through the soft Roman morning, their deep, resonant chimes cutting through the mist that lingered over Vatican City. Draped in black and gold mourning cloth, the heart of Catholicism was preparing to bid farewell to one of its most transformative leaders. In a poignant display of unity and reverence, leaders from every corner of the world gathered, among them, a figure not often seen in such settings, His Royal Highness Prince William, the Prince of Wales. This historic moment, unfolding live across millions of screens worldwide, brought together faith, diplomacy, and the deeply human experience of collective mourning. It marked not only the end of Pope Francis's extraordinary papacy, but also a symbol of the bridges he built across faiths, nations, and hearts. A royal tribute to a spiritual giant. Prince William's presence at the funeral was more than diplomatic courtesy. It was a testament to the quiet but powerful relationship that had blossomed between the Vatican and the British Crown during Francis's time. Sources close to the royal household revealed that William had personally requested to attend, honoring a man he once described as a beacon of humility and courage in a divided world. Clad in a dark mourning suit, adorned with a simple black tie, the future King of the United Kingdom walked solemnly alongside heads of state, religious leaders, and ordinary pilgrims. His expression was one of deep reflection as he moved towards the grand square that had become a sea of black-clad mourners, each face turned toward the basilica's imposing facade. The prince was seated among an array of global dignitaries, just a few rows behind the President of Italy and King Felipe VI of Spain. Yet there was a striking humility to his demeanor. He bowed his head in prayer as the Latin chants of the Requiem Mass rose into the heavens. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Echoes of History. It was not lost on observers that Prince William's attendance echoed historical milestones. Queen Elizabeth II, his grandmother, had famously met with Pope John Paul II, forging a subtle but significant thaw between the Anglican and Catholic traditions. Today, standing in the shadow of St. Peter's Dome, William was continuing that legacy, though with his own brand of sincerity and openness. Veteran Vatican journalist Elena Ricci noted, "This is not just about protocol. William is here because Francis spoke to the world beyond doctrine. He spoke to the human spirit, something the prince himself has tried to do throughout his public life." Indeed, William's recent years have been marked by advocacy for mental health, environmental stewardship, and social justice, issues Pope Francis championed fiercely. Their shared visions for compassion-driven leadership had forged an unusual but profound bond between the palace and the papacy. Farewell like no other. As the funeral mass unfolded under the grand colonnades of Bernini, the setting sun glinted off the white marble and the dark suits alike, casting long shadows across the cobblestones. A hush fell over the congregation as the Pope's simple wooden casket was carried forward, adorned only with a plain white cloth and a copy of the Gospels, just as Francis had wished. The music, Gregorian chants, and soaring hymns wove a tapestry of sound over the square, at once somber and uplifting. At key moments, cameras caught Prince William joining in silent prayer, his hands clasped tightly in front of him, his eyes glistening. Perhaps most moving was the moment when the prince was invited, along with a select few dignitaries, to place a white rose at the foot of the coffin, a symbol of peace, purity, and respect. As William stepped forward, the world seemed to hold its breath. Kneeling briefly, he placed the flower gently atop the cloth, paused, and whispered something inaudible. Whether it was a prayer, a promise, or a personal farewell, it was a moment of raw, unscripted humanity. Reflections on a papacy. Throughout his reign, Pope Francis had been an agent of change, embracing the marginalized, challenging the powerful, and tirelessly advocating for a church that walked with the poor. His encyclicals on climate change, his outspoken stance on refugees, and his push for interfaith dialogue had earned him admirers well beyond Catholicism. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Prince William, known for his pragmatic compassion, had found inspiration in these efforts. Royal insiders shared that William had studied Laudato Si', the Pope's encyclical on the environment, during the early days of launching the Earthshot Prize. Francis's call for care for our common home resonated deeply with the prince's vision for a sustainable future, one aide disclosed. As the mass concluded and the casket was carried toward the Apostolic Palace for private entombment, William remained seated for a long moment, head bowed, perhaps contemplating the legacy Francis had left, and the daunting path ahead for the leaders of tomorrow. A global gathering of mourning and hope. Beyond the grandeur of the ceremony, there was a powerful intimacy to the gathering. Presidents, monarchs, refugees, nuns, and street sweepers all stood together, shoulder to shoulder, mourning the loss of a man who had touched their lives. U.S. President Maria Gonzalez offered a brief statement after the Mass, highlighting the Pope's efforts to reawaken the conscience of the world. French President Edouard Martin spoke of a prophet in our time. The Dalai Lama, who sat respectfully in saffron robes among the guests, described Francis as a brother of the spirit. Prince William, meanwhile, declined to give formal interviews. In keeping with the tone of the day, Kensington Palace released a simple statement. His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales honors the memory of His Holiness Pope Francis, a champion of hope, compassion, and peace. His message lives on in all of us who strive to make the world more just, more kind, and more united. A farewell and a beginning. As twilight deepened over Rome, pilgrims lit thousands of candles across St. Peter's Square, their flickering flames creating a constellation of light against the gathering darkness. William lingered quietly at the edge of the crowd, joined for a brief moment by Cardinal Matteo Zerini, one of the leading candidates to succeed Francis. They exchanged a few hushed words, a meeting perhaps charged with significance for the future of faith and global leadership. Later that evening, William was seen walking quietly through the narrow streets near the Vatican, accompanied only by a small security detail. No fanfare, no grand procession, just a man, deeply moved, paying personal tribute to a spiritual titan. The world had gathered to say goodbye, but somehow, as the stars rose over Rome, it felt less like an ending and more like a beginning. In the silence that followed the final hymn, there was a collective understanding. Francis's work was not finished. It lived on, in the care of the poor, in the fight for justice, and in the quiet, steady steps of leaders like Prince William, determined to carry that torch into the uncertain dawn. Subscribe the channel to get such videos.